has been a miracle working movement. The system says once you have been convicted of a crime, you can never contact the person who was on the other side of that crime ever again. The system does not want people to do this. I want to let people see this underground network of people who are trying to heal the unhealable and sometimes forgive the unforgivable.
Wow, that's the voice of a person that I respect tremendously. Have to be. I only said this about my daughter most recently. I will walk through this man. I will follow him through fire, because I know his root. I know what his base is. I know his foundation. Yes, he's a commentator. Yes, he's an author. Yes, he's a non-practicing attorney. I'm not sure if you're practicing right now, but he's so much more. I know he was on the President Barack Obama's Special Advisory Board for Green Jobs. Let me see. He also, Time Magazine called him one of the 100 most influential people in the world. He got the NAACP President's Award. I could go on and on about this man, but I know him. A lot of folks know him from watching him on different networks like CNN. Yeah. People saw him interview Jay-Z, one of the most powerful conversations I've ever watched Jay-Z have. But I know him in a different way. Yeah. I know him when he came to San Francisco Bay Area. Okay. And I know him from marching and protest against police brutality back in the early 90s. Yeah. I know him from a collective that he was a founder of called Third Eye Movement, and they challenged the status quo, including companies like KPFA, which as a result has gotten shows on the air that address community issues. Mm-hmm. That's how I know this man. Going way back. I know him for standing together to organize a revolutionary movement, Storm, which was another organization that he was a part of, and I know him for consistently fighting for the voiceless, going inside of the prison system, similar to how we do with the Last Mile program, as we try to help rehabilitate people who are behind bars so they could come out and be an asset, a viable asset to today's society. And these are voiceless people that he spends a lot of time with. And he has his new project, the Redemption Project, with Van Jones that premieres Sunday, April 28th, 9 p.m. on CNN, dealing with restorative justice. He's here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for my brother, the one and only Van Jones.
Black excellence.
Black excellence.
Hey,
Black, now applaud this man up.
I know. I appreciate you.
That man is in the fire, baby. That man is in the fire. Yeah. He's saying what's unpopular. He don't care. He's throwing his neck on the line. Who's willing to throw their neck on the line?
Yeah, man.
For their people. Van Jones, man.
It means the world. I mean, listen, man, that being in the Bay in the 90s, both political parties throwing us under the bus, Democrats cheerleading for more prisons, chasing the Republicans, they can build more prisons, 3 strikes and you're out, Clinton crime bill. Very few of us back in those days were willing to stand up. You were one of them. Yeah. Saying this is wrong. We're going to regret this. We're throwing all these young lives away behind what's going on with crack. These kids just need rehab. They need a job. What are we doing? 25 years later, to watch this movement now, even Republicans and Democrats finally listening to us. But it's been a lot of funerals. Yeah. It's been a lot of court cases that went wrong. It's been a lot of community coalitions that fell apart because we had too many losses. You can only, at a community level, you can only mobilize so long and lose so many, battles, lose so many ballot measures, lose so many bad bills. People start infighting. Yeah. And so, to be in a place now, where you are, using your platform at this, major way, to be at CNN and still to be able to keep, fighting issues. They say, well, how can you work with Republicans? I said, how can we work with any of these political parties? They all threw us under the bus.
They all threw us under the bus.
And so, I'm old enough to remember when that was the one thing that they could get away with being liberal on everything else by being quote unquote tough on crime, which meant tough on us. And so now, with this new show, The Redemption Project, 9 p.m. CNN Sundays. That's Anthony Bourdain's slot, bro. Yeah. That's Anthony Bourdain's slot they're giving to us on criminal justice. Now, that's sacred ground at CNN because, Anthony Bourdain, he took his own life. He's like the soul of CNN. So for us to have his slot for 2 months to tell these kind of stories, it's just it's a full circle moment for me, and I think it could be a full circle moment for the culture.
For the Van Jones, man, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I was thinking about you because my daughter is like we were.
No,
she
got a fist in the air.
Her fist in the air. And she
it takes that. Those young people bring the fire, man.
They bring the fire, and she's looking at me like, "Daddy, why aren't you?" But I'm like, I am, but I'm doing it differently.
Exactly,
now.
We just different tools.
Different tools now, daughter. You got to get out there and throw the rocks. But what I think got her into activism is just by watching and being around a lot of the protests we were doing. A lot of the stuff we were doing, we infiltrated the system and got on 106 KMEL back then. Used to come to Street Knowledge a lot with Davey D. Cook. And when these issues would come up, I was doing Sway in the Breakfast Club, the morning show I had back then in '96, 10 o'clock bomb, the world famous wake up show, and we were bringing these issues to light. When I think of Storm standing together to organize a revolutionary movement, what it meant back then, how could someone like my daughter, who's 20 years old, what could she effectively do today that we didn't have the tools to do back then?
Well, I mean, there's so many things that are available now. I mean, but frankly, the Reform Alliance, which is where I do my real work.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, Meek Mill, 6 other heavy hitters got together earlier this year and said we have to do something on criminal justice. So they put together this thing called the Reform Alliance, and I was honored. They asked me to be the startup CEO to get it off the ground. So reformalliance.com, we're going to be trying to pass bills and change real laws while, it's a hot topic. I think the young people are right to be outraged. Black Lives Matter. I mean, you have young people just saying, "Look, don't kill me just because I'm black." And forcing the world to listen to them. I think we have to go though from protesting bad laws to changing laws, and that's a different mindset because it's not enough left-wing liberal Democrats to pass any law. You're going to have to deal with the other party. You're going to have to deal with people you don't like on other issues in order to get something done. I've never been into a prison, and I've been just like you, in and out of prisons for 25 years, as an activist, as a lawyer. I've never met anybody in prison who said, "I'm in here, they're brutalizing me, I miss my children, I miss my family, I want to go home, please help me, Van, but whatever you do, don't talk to any Republicans." I've never heard that.
Yeah.
The people who are in prison, they don't care who's in the White House, they want to go home to their house.
Yeah.
And they deserve the same advocacy. Listen, I voted against this administration. I can't wait for them to go. But while Donald Trump has 200,000 people in the palm of his hand in those federal prisons, those people deserve the same level of passion, advocacy with him in the White House as they had under Obama, because they didn't lose the election. They couldn't vote.
Yeah.
We lost that election. So why should they have to sit there and suffer for 4 or, God help me, 8 years with no advocacy? And so, I've worked very, very hard to try to find a way. We got one criminal justice bill done last year that we got Trump to sign. We're going to try to get some more done. We've got to realize that right now is the time where you have a strong economy, low crime. That's when you can get prisons closed because people can come home and get jobs. So the Reform Alliance is pushing hard on that. And the Redemption Project, though, as a show, is about humanization. Humanization.
I want to talk about that,
Yeah.
but I also want to talk about criminal justice reform.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned Jay-Z, you mentioned Meek Mill, and people laughed about Kim Kardashian. And when she came to the front lines, and I know recently somebody asked me, because we found out she was studying to be an attorney, would you let her represent you? And I said absolutely so. Yeah, man. Because with her power and her visibility, she has obviously the power to shift things. She
helped to get Miss Alice Johnson out of prison.
Yeah.
She has a track record already. It's my firm, the Dream Corps, that she's studying to be a lawyer under. Yeah. And so, I talk to Kim, very often. Listen, man, I was in the Oval Office with her, me, Kim, Ivanka, Jared, and Trump in the Oval Office. And look, I think I'm a pretty persuasive dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm passionate. I've been doing this for a long time. It was like trying to pour water into a marble. Man, nothing I was saying was getting through. Yeah. And she spoke shorter than everybody else and was the only one that moved him.
This is what you said about her and the idea of her becoming an attorney.
When I first met Kim Kardashian, I was interviewing her just like you're interviewing me, and she had just gotten someone out of prison with Donald Trump's help and support. And I've seen a lot of celebrities get involved with causes. I've never seen anybody change their whole life the way that she has. I mean, she's gone from literally 0 to 100,000. You know, she's studying now to become a lawyer, and she takes these cases seriously. It's embarrassing to go into a meeting with Kim Kardashian when you're the attorney and she's not, and she knows more than you by far.
And that happens.
Facts. I mean, that's true. I mean, facts. I mean, she is just remarkable. She's diligent. I mean, I think that when you grow up in the public eye and you start off in the kind of crazy party girl, Paris Hilton, all that sort of stuff, people forget, look, this woman got 3 black children.
Yeah.
She got 3 black children and 1 more coming. So, people say, well, you're giving her credit. You're not giving other people credit. Come on, guys. I've given more credit to black activists and put more black activists on the air than anybody at CNN. I'm not taking any backstreets to anybody. And also our sisters who are, I put AOC on before anybody else. I put a lot of women of color on the air at CNN and defend. We got enough glory and greatness as a people that when somebody does the right thing, we can give them credit, don't take anything away from us.
Yeah.
And when people join our cause, we should be happy. Yeah. People say, well, how are you giving her credit? I want more people to join our cause. Can we close these prisons by ourselves?
Exactly.
We would have closed them by ourselves if we could have. We need some more people to come in. So I want people to know that people thought it was a PR stunt a year ago. She is working every day, and she only gets about this much credit for all the work. For all the work she's actually doing.
Yeah.
So she's not. It's not PR. It's like this is somebody who, for whatever reason, her daddy was a lawyer. I don't know. For whatever reason, she is doing the work, and we got to give credit where it's due.
You know, Davy D. Cook, who's a mentor of mine. You know Davy.
Oh, yeah.
D.
Well, he mentored mine, too.
He's a mentor of ours.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And Davy was telling me that, she's been in the Bay more times than people realize.
Oh, yeah.
Under the radar
100%.
For her internship and for her studies.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, she spends 18 hours a week on criminal justice and learning the law. She goes into women's prisons, and a lot of times they have to make sure that it's not known.
Yeah.
Because, obviously such a big celebrity when she comes in, it's like a big operation to get her there and to get her in and out and that kind of stuff. And she doesn't want, for people to feel like it's a stunt. So they keep the media out. But listen, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Kim.
No.
But because she's somebody I've been in the Oval Office and I realized everybody can't do everything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be effective moving some people. I've got to have other people who can move other people. And she can move some people I can't get to.
Van Jones, ladies and gentlemen, I want to pivot to restorative justice. This is what the Redemption Project is all about, airing Sunday, 9 p.m. On CNN. And that's restorative justice seeks to heal those who are harmed by crime, and usually it's a heinous, violent crime. And in the first episode of Mother's Justice, you tell the story of Donald Lacey.
Yes.
And Donald Lacey, for those who don't know,
he's a legend.
He's a legend in Oakland.
Yeah.
This guy not only is a comedian, but he's an activist. And if you look at the signs on Oakland, it says "Love Life."
That's a slogan.
That's his slogan. And that "Love Life" is what his daughter, Loisha Lacey, that's what her name meant. And I remember back in, I want to say 1997, I was on the air at KMEL. And she was a high school student over at McClimas High, and she was she was gunned down, and
totally innocent. I mean, just one of those good kids, great kids, big future. Everybody knows her, everybody loves her. She's in every club, president of every club, and she's just in the wrong car at the wrong time. And people came by and shot the car up, trying to get the dude that was in the car, not trying to get her. But she was the one that died.
The crazy part was when the father told the story about she was in the front seat originally, which is where one of the survivors was sitting, but then told her to switch seats because she didn't want to be seen by the guy she was dating and think like she was riding with another new guy. Yeah. So she would have lived had she stayed in that front seat.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was really where we first got together because that was a tragedy that shocked the whole Bay Area. And, now we've gotten so coarse. I mean, they have mass shootings every day. We don't even blink. We just go past it on Instagram. We don't even like it or click it or, say thoughts and prayers no more. But back then, for a young girl to just get gunned down 7 shots in a car. I mean, it shocked the whole Bay Area. And I mean, you guys at KMEL, I mean, it was a year. It wasn't like a one-day story.
No,
it was like a year-long grieving process, whatever. So Donald Lacey, thanks to you and other people, he's like a legend in Oakland as somebody who took his daughter's death and became an activist and really tried to do something about all those murders that were going on at that time. And so my show, we go back to Donald Lacey. 20 years later, he's never spoken to the young man who was convicted for murdering his daughter, even though he's just right across the bridge in San Quentin prison. Wow. And he said, I want to talk to this brother. I want to find out why he did this. I need to have some, he said, you never get to closure, but you can at least get to some healing. I need to understand what happened. And so we film Chris, tell his whole backstory, film Donald Lacey being Donald Lacey, in the community, doing all the stuff he's doing, but it's building toward this moment that we're going to walk Donald Lacey into the prison and sit him down and let Chris leave his cell, walk down the tier, open the door, and sit down face to face, damn near knee to knee with this man. And the conversation they have, I'm not going to give it away. But man, and I mean, for me, because I was marching behind Donald Lacey 20-some years ago.
Yeah, we all were.
We all were.
Yeah.
To be sitting there when he finally got a chance to have this conversation, man. I mean, guards were crying.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I was crying watching it because we were all so close to it. And here's the thing: Chris was 16 years old
at the time.
At the time he committed the murder, he basically admitted to it, turned himself in, and had lived with it for all this time. And I've never seen, a lot of times when people are in jail, folks feel like it's contrived remorse, but this guy was really in pain. And we find out about his story. His mom used to leave him and his brothers for weeks at a time. They were eating garbage out of street cans and all of these different things.
And that's a big part of what we're trying to do on the show. It's not, but like I said, 2 of the 8 shows, 2, it does not end up as warm and fuzzy. 3, it ends up, in a different way, some in the middle. We're not trying to preach to anybody. We're not trying to say it's a should. You should talk to the person who did this. You should forgive. No. But you could. And just knowing that you could, some of these folks, you don't understand, you're living in your own prison of not knowing and grief and what did happen. Because the thing, our system works, everybody, we spend $80 billion a year on an incarceration industry, and the next year we spend another $80 billion, and the next year another $80 billion. Well, what are we getting for it? Because even the victims, the survivors, they go to court, they can't say nothing. The lawyers talk, the cops talk, the investigators talk, the judges talk, everybody talks but them. Sometimes the person cops a plea, they never get on stand and say a word. And now it's just okay, he copped a plea, it's 35 years. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, next case. What happened?
Yeah.
And then if the person does testify, often they're not going to testify, but if they do, they test a lie and they're not testifying because they're trying to get out of trouble. If they apologize, it's a mitigation. What really happened?
Yeah.
Are you really sorry? Did you tell the truth? This police report don't make no sense. Nobody's going to talk to me. Now the case is over. I got no rights. The courts moves on. But I'm still here 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. I have no answers. I have no healing. And so when we come with restorative justice, as opposed to retributive justice, retribution-based justice is just, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. Yeah. It's playground justice. I'm going to get my licks back in. Yeah. I'm going to get my licks in. You got your licks in, I'm going to get my licks in. I'm going to add damage to damage. That's my justice.
Right.
That has a place. I'm not saying that doesn't have a place. But you do too much of that, you just have a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
And you have no healing. Restorative justice says, and maybe it's a complement to it, maybe it's an alternative, but it just says justice happens when the person who got hurt has healed. Have any of these people been healed? Well, we don't have justice yet. Justice happens when the community that's been thrown out of balance by crime is finally been brought back into balance and some kind of true grieving and a reset. Has that happened? No, we don't have justice. And lastly, when the person who did wrong has been reattached to their own humanity to the point they can actually atone and really apologize and do something about it. Now we got justice. That's a higher standard. And yet, for their $80 billion doing it the other way, that can sometimes happen in a 1 or 2 hour conversation.
Yeah.
Properly facilitated. Yeah. And so I'm not saying this is a solution for everything, but all I'm saying is after 25 years of watching us building and filling prisons, and the people who got charged are not happy, and their families not happy, community's not happy, victims not happy. Can we try something else? And so this show, 9 p.m. Sunday, CNN, Redemption Project, is trying to show something else in a culture right now where forgiveness is not even popular.
Yeah.
It's about the call out culture. It's about the cancel culture.
Yeah.
I mean,
cancel you.
People proud to have no grace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People proud to have no empathy. People proud to have no forgiveness and praising Jesus the whole time. Hold on now.
The whole time.
You can't do both.
Makes no sense.
How you gonna have a cross on talking about Jesus and canceling everybody? That's not even.
We talk about cancel culture up here a lot, in the sense of because of social media as a binary choice, there is no nuance to any conversation or any sensitive topic. One, I want to salute you for the work that you've always done and for always bringing your whole self when you speak and speaking for issues. I love this idea of restorative justice, and we talk about criminal justice reform. It's so layered, it's so complex, and there's so many issues with it, in particular prison reform. I like the restorative part, but I'm curious about the preventative part. And I started thinking about this as you were talking about the story of Chris, right? And you talk about his story, his upbringing, and how it is. As you take us through the episodes that are yet to be aired, do you think that would be some of the takeaways that America will be able to understand why some of these individuals made the choice that they did to help us actually do better when it comes to preventative justice and prison reform, about the how they arrived to the destination?
You know, my secret agenda, which I don't tell anybody, is that because the opposite of humanization is criminalization. Once you say that whole neighborhood is a bad neighborhood, everybody over there is thugs, everybody over there is negative. Well, now you've dehumanized that community. You can do anything to them. But the opposite of criminalization is humanization. And so we're taking people, at the beginning of all these shows, the audience is like, I can't identify with this person. This person did this. This person, got high and ran over somebody's child. I'm sorry. I got no sympathy for you. And that's understandable. But then we start showing the backstory. And we start trying to we're not preaching to anybody. We just want to make sure that by the time these two people sit down and talk on our show, you have a little bit of an understanding about where both are coming from. And what we found, and I'm not surprised, is what we found is people do come up and say, well, this person should never have been in the situation to make this terrible decision. They were failed so many times by the system and by their family and by us. By the time they made that terrible decision, I at least can understand a little bit how they might have gotten there. So I think it helps with the rehabilitation conversation and the preventative conversation. I also am hoping that this show helps with can we stop just labeling everybody and being cheap and lazy with everything that we do? It is so much easier for me just to say, listen, that person is a criminal, and ignore the fact I went to Yale. I saw more people doing drugs at Yale than I ever saw anybody doing drugs in a housing project. None of those people ever saw a police officer. Nobody called the cops. If they found out a Yale student was doing drugs, they went to rehab. So what about all those nonviolent drug offenders who are now walking around in high society? We all criminals. Okay? We all did something. Okay? So this whole idea of trying to break down what are we talking about? Everybody needs redemption. People, oh, not me. Okay, if I told you right now, we have been secretly recording everything you've done for the past month, 24 hours a day, you would give any amount of money not to air that tape.
Absolutely.
Right? Because nobody is as good in private as they try to be in public. Everybody falls short of the glory of God. And so we're hoping that we're trying to put some medicine in a very sick culture. These devices, we think that we're programming our phones. Our phones are programming us. Because by the time you hit a couple of likes and shares, this algorithm knows exactly what you want to hear, and it's going to hit them dopamine receptors. It's not an information machine. It's a dopamine pleasure machine. and you will start to believe your own nonsense because this thing is going to tell you what you want to hear as opposed to what you need to know. Right. We got so much data and so little wisdom now that we are about to burn this culture off the cliff and proud to do it and bragging about it while we go into our own destruction. Wow. So we're trying to bring some forgiveness, grace, empathy back into the culture with this show.
Van Jones, The Redemption Project, Sunday, CNN, 9 p.m. Tracy?
Yes, Van Jones, I appreciate everything you're stating right now. As you were talking, I started thinking about how the reparations debate is getting hot again with the Democrats. And when I hear about these stories, I think about our generational trauma. Yeah. You know what I mean? As the Black community, where do you stand with the reparations debate? And do you think that it can be a form of healing?
Look, you know, I'm for it. You know, Prince, you know, was, you know, one of my big mentors and friends, wrote a song called "When Will We Be Paid," and it says, "When will we be paid for the work that we've done?" And he just goes through all of these, you know, the you know, listen, man. People say, "How can you be for reparations?" I said, "Hold on a second. If you have a kid," they say, "Yeah." You have a kid, you know, ever worked a summer job? Yeah. Okay, so if you had a kid that worked a summer job all summer long, worked all summer long, at the end of the summer they got paid nothing. 10 years from now, whenever you saw that company, you'd be like, that dadgum fuck. You know,
yep. Right? Yeah. You'd be pissed off.
You'd be pissed off. Real. For 3 months of unpaid wages, you would never forgive. And, I mean, literally, you would never patronize that store. Try 200 years. 200 years working for free. So the idea that this is some big thing that's hard to figure out, no. I mean, you wouldn't do it. And look, I'm a 9th generation American. Yeah. Nobody can tell me nothing. I'm a 9th generation American. I'm the first one in my family born with all my rights recognized by this government.
Wow. God bless.
I'm going to say it again. I'm a 9th generation American born in 1968. I'm the first one in my family born with all my rights recognized by this government. And so for you to come and tell me, and we live in a culture where you won't forgive me for cutting you off in the freeway, but I'm supposed to forgive 200 years of unpaid? No, we're not doing that. Now, what I will say, from a marketing point of view, what I've noticed about American society, if you say I want $1 billion for something that happened in the past, reparations, they say I don't want to talk to you. If you say I want $1 billion because right now the income is not distributed properly, I want income redistribution, they say I'm not talking to you. So if it's for the past or the present, they don't listen. But if you say I want $1 billion to invest in a future that's going to work better, then okay, here's your money. And so it could be that the way we talk about it might need to be about an investment in the future, because that's how they think. Black people have way too much history and too little future. Okay, we got a whole month for Black History. We ain't had a Black Future weekend yet. So so now, all right. So now the other culture, they got way too much future and no past. They think about Mars and all kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But you can't tell them about what happened in their own country 20 years ago. And so, our cultures, we need each other because we balance each other.
We need each other.
We really need each other. And so, but sometimes it's good to talk their language. So it might be about talking about investment for the future. That might land better. But nobody can sit up and tell me, if you would be mad for your child working for one summer unpaid and would be mad 10 years later, don't tell me that my people could work for 200 years, 240 years unpaid, and I'm supposed to forget about it and move on like nothing happened. That's not fair.
Van Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. I said Van Jones, ladies and gentlemen. I said Van Jones! Van Jones! The Redemption Project premieres Sunday, 9 p.m. on CNN. I got to see 2 of them, a Mother's Justice episodes and Drive-By Death, and I was stuck glued on the screen.
Thank you.
Watching, learning.
Thank you.
Taking it in.
Trying to move the culture, brother.
Hey Van, can I make a request? You and I go back to the 90s. And we still on that same path. Yeah. Can you come back on our show periodically?
Oh, anytime.
Okay.
And first of all, I have to say, I'm just going to speak just brother to brother.
Okay.
It's been hard for me this past year. I had to make a tough decision. Was I going to leave my sisters and brothers behind bars to suffer for 4 years or 8 years until we got Trump out of there? Or was I going to be one of the few that's willing to walk in that building, sit down, and try to cut a deal to get our folk home? That First Step Act, if it's implemented properly, 4,000 people will come home this year. 25,000 people will have shorter sentences this year because of that. But I got called every kind of coon, Uncle Tom, and sellout just because I was willing to walk into the building. And for somebody like myself, as you know, I mean, we were there.
Yeah.
What we went through.
Yeah.
Dealing with the SFPD, OPD. You know, we stopped the super jail from being built together. We helped to close 5 abusive youth prisons in California when it wasn't popular.
When it was
we had to
not,
fight the Democrats to do it.
Yeah.
And so for me to be put on Front Street with the kind of stuff that's been said this is my first real interview with somebody who I didn't know what you were going to say about me introducing me. I didn't know if you were going to claim me or not. But for you to go back and put my history out there and remind people this is y'all, we were woke before they had alarm clocks. You know what I mean? We were woke before they had
hashtag.
Exactly. We were woke, but they didn't even have alarm clocks and we were woke.
And it was more dangerous for us.
Hey, listen, don't forget that the San Francisco Police Commission had to tell the Oakland, the San Francisco Police Union to stop threatening our lives. Yeah. Don't forget that. Yeah. I mean, that's a part of the history. If you don't believe me, look at the San Francisco Police Human Rights Commission's record. They had to go on record and tell the Police Officers Union in San Francisco to stop threatening us, to stop threatening our lives because we were fighting against police brutality. So, you know, I will fight against or alongside anybody to help my people. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're going to stand in the way of justice, I'm going to fight against you. And if you're going to be with us on even a percentage or something, on that percentage, I'll be with you. I'll fight you 99. I told Trump, with you, I got 99 problems, but prisons ain't one. Yeah. So we'll work on that. But I'm coming at you on the rest of it. So.
Dan Jones, man. And listen, I don't know what they talking about, but I know the quickest way to the finish line is looking straight ahead. All those noises that these people throwing at you, don't look left or right. Those are just distractions. Yeah. But we know who you are.
Thank you, bro.
Man,
that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me.
Through the fire.